John, thank you very much for talking to us today. First of all, let's talk a little bit about innovation and being in Asia. How important do you think Asia is as a region for innovation? Because to be honest, if we look at technology, products, etc., still most of the really innovative, amazing new gadgets or software does not come from Asia. It's copied here, but it doesn't come from here.
Well, actually, I have a different theory. A lot of the innovations that may come from someplace else will involve great ideas that start with people in Asia. If I think about our company, for example, we have probably 12,000 engineers spread around Asia out of our 50,000 globally. And we don't do anything that's based on the work done in one country. All the new products that we introduce are a collaborative effort that involve engineers and technologists around the world. So I would hazard a guess that even some of the earth-shaking innovations that might be launched from the United States or Western Europe involve smart people in Asia.
When you look at what you see are the newest innovations and where they come from, do you see a way that Asia can actually lead the world in innovation?
I do. I look at Asia as a region. It's obviously very different. When you talk about Asia, you're talking about a broad swath of geography that involves many different countries and cultures. But if you look at the demands here, if you look at the growing middle class and the expectations they have around affordable electricity, environmental responsibility, basic forms of health care, many people have that, but many people don't. Those are all problems that are going to have to get solved over the coming years. And what a great place to be working on stuff that will have an impact, where you can have an impact right in your backyard.
You've just mentioned some problems that some societies face. What are the businesses globally that you see leading innovation? Is it all going to be high-tech driven?
No. Well, sometimes we think about innovation as only the next new special product, a sophisticated technology, and in reality, a company like ours certainly we think about product innovation, but we also think about service innovation and how do we provide better service for our customers after we sell the equipment. We think about digital innovation. Increasingly, we're connected digitally in so many ways with our products and our customers. We have 10,000 engineers out of our 50,000 are software engineers. And then the fourth thing I'd say is process innovation. When the stories are written about the best global companies in the 21st century, they're going to be the companies that developed process capability around the world. How do you deliver services? Who makes decisions? Where do you make them? So innovation covers a very broad continuum of what a company like ours works on.
Now, if we look at your company and what you're doing, you're a vice chairman based in Asia for the last 3 years. And what does that say about whether for global companies now there is a difference between the domestic business and the international business?
Well, I think there is a big difference, not so much the distinction between domestic and international, but global. So I moved to Hong Kong 3 years ago, in part to be a forcing function, so that a company that had grown up in the United States, but even back then had gotten to the point where 60% of our revenue was coming from outside the United States, and much of that from markets that are growing or capable of growing at 10 or 15% a year, we have to think differently. And it really gets to the process innovation that I have referred to before. Where do we have our resources? Where are we making decisions? Who's making decisions? How do we treat customers in Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, like we are a local company in those countries? and bring to bear the strengths of a global enterprise. I think that's the challenge of the 21st century for a company like ours.
And do you think that tilt towards Asia in GE's case is a permanent thing? Or is it just that Asia is the flavor of this decade and maybe in 10 years' time you'll be posted in Zimbabwe or somewhere else?
Well, my responsibilities are global, so I would say it's a tilt toward global. It's less about where I'm located than the kind of decisions we're making about where our global resources are located. Because every country where we do business wants us to be an investor. Every country where we do business wants us to think about their time zone when we're solving problems or giving answers, not a time zone back at headquarters.
Looking ahead to what you see happening in the global economy, say in the next 12 months, we did see a slowdown in China this year. A lot of people worried about a hard landing. Problems in the Indian economy, the US economy, still not clear how strong the recovery is. What's your outlook for the global economy for next year?
I think it's going to be a little choppy. I think you see pockets of opportunity where the economies are doing okay, and you see areas where they're growing at a slower rate. And you mentioned China. I think that China's growth at 7.5% or so is fine. I would have worried if growth in China had been maintained at 10 or 11 or 12% because I don't really think that was sustainable. So the adjustment that's taking place there, I think, is a net, it's a constructive adjustment.
On the flip side, do you actually see investment flowing back to the US and Europe? As you know, there are opportunities there too.
Sure, and I think that in this world, the investment's going to flow to where you find the opportunities, economic opportunities and market opportunities, but also where you find good people. And I think much is made of this concept of reshoring in the United States, where you bring things back from where they've been offshored. What drives that isn't a big strategy. What drives it is your recognition that you have the ability to get good things done by good people. And so in a sense, jobs are going to flow to the countries anywhere, US, Western Europe, Asia, where you find good people and they do good work. Because my view is that competency trumps cost, that in time, you may start with a low wage rate, but over time, wages go up. You may start with an advantageous exchange rate, but over time, exchange rates change.
That kind of thing it worries some people, for example, who look at manufacturing in China that has become more expensive. Mm-hmm. And there are stories of companies who've said, now we're going to take our factory back to the US because the Chinese labor is not as cheap as it used to be, and we can do this equally as well for the same cost back in the US. Should some of those companies be worried that this kind of flow is going to affect them negatively?
I think you should be worried if you have a facility where you're not continuing to get better every year, you're not generating productivity and efficiency, because wage rates will change, and they're changing in China. But I would submit that most of those facilities are moving less because the wage rates are higher, but more because there hasn't been any productivity to offset that. Because let's face it, when you move a factory from China to the United States, you're gonna pay more for that worker in the United States than you do today for that worker in China. There has to be another reason to do that. So companies that are making that move are probably finding more productivity and efficiency. And so the facilities in China should be focused on that.
All right, John, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thanks.